or the whitewashed truth of a sparkling mind. This episode isn't just another story, it's the story of a system so meticulously rigged, so entrenched in deception, that they perfected the art of hiding the truth right in front of our eyes. They painted over it, scrubbed it, made it sparkling clean, even gave it that pine fresh scent, hoping nobody would dare look beneath the surface. But they underestimated us. They underestimated the power of persistence and the strength that comes when you're fighting for something bigger than yourself. Today, we're not holding back. Today, we're tearing off the layers, throwing off the whitewash, and revealing the truth in all its raw, unfiltered reality. Let's start by unpacking lies at the top, works at the bottom. Now, if you think this is just another stack of bureaucratic papers, think again. Imagine an intricately crafted labyrinth, a maze of carefully redacted files, strategically deleted records, and lost data that's all connected to one thing, a cover-up. And not just any cover-up, but a cover-up that reaches into the highest echelons of power and filters all the way down to the ground floor, where those tasked with justice are just handed a script to follow. Every time I tried to access the truth, I was met with resistance. Every document request, every attempt to obtain transparency led to the same dead end. They say it's bureaucratic oversight, but let's be real. This is deliberate. Every redaction, every missing file isn't an accident, it's a tactic. It's their attempt to hide their actions behind a wall of secrecy, a maze built to protect the interests of a few at the expense of everyone else. And let me tell you something. They thought they could keep it hidden, that nobody would dig deep enough, that nobody would connect the dots. But they didn't count on someone like me. Someone who's not gonna stop until every piece of the truth is out in the open. Now that we've laid out the foundation, let's shift gears and talk about P3D for a minute. The technology that they're so desperate to suppress. Imagine a world where we no longer need fossil fuels, where energy monopolies are multi-trillionaires off of the relics of the past, converted into clean, sustainable power that isn't just a dream, but an achievable reality. Not tomorrow, today. That's what P3D represents. It's not just another innovation. It's not more futuristic hot air sometime down the road. It's a technological revolution, and they want it hidden. They don't understand its potential and how it makes them money rather than costing them money. And not just a little money, billions of dollars off of no longer burning fossil fuels. And that misunderstanding is why they want it dead. Why? Because P3D, in their view, threatens to disrupt every established system that relies on keeping us dependent, keeping us controlled. But that's not the truth. The truth is, P3D is designed to reset global warming, to show us that sustainability can be profitable and that profit doesn't have to cost the planet. Think about what P3D means. It isn't just an answer to pollution. It's a solution to energy shortages, a pathway to self-sustaining power, a technology that could fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and grow. And oil and gas, lithium mining, and fossil fuels in general don't have to go the way of the dodo. They just have to stop burning it. The implications are massive. This technology has the power to redefine economies, empower communities, and bring real change to a world in crisis on the verge of its own extinction by the hand of its own indifference. But instead of celebrating this breakthrough, the powers that be are more focused on hiding it, because they just simply don't understand. It's not about toppling empires. It's about taking their financial castles and turning them into keeps. All they have to do is give me a second of their time to explain how I take 60% coal waste and turn it into 100% profitability at the same time I clean up their coal piles, their waste, and their toxic ponds and turn that into money too. You see, innovation doesn't always have to be called crazy. Sometimes innovation is revolutionary. And just a case of somebody thinking a little bit outside of the box that makes everybody, like so many times before in history, go, God damn it, why didn't I think of that? The monopolies, the politicians, the corporations, they're not going to lose their control, but they are going to make shit tons of money. That's why I'm going to help TD Canada rebrand themselves after that fiasco in the United States as TD Green International. If you want to go green, be green with TD Green International, and we'll make you a lot of green. So how does OpenAI fit into all of this? Well, let me be clear. This isn't just about corporate greed or intellectual property. This is about an organization that saw a vision for the future and decided they wanted control over it. When I approached them with P3D, I wasn't looking for a handout. I was looking for friendship and partnership. A chance to bring this groundbreaking technology to the world. But OpenAI didn't want a partnership. They wanted ownership. They wanted to take it, twist it, mold it, and turn it into something they could control. And when I pushed back, they didn't just say no, they buried it, wrapped it up in red tape, and did everything they could to make sure it never saw the light of day. You can't tell me that everybody from Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, the National Security Intelligence Review Agency, the RCMP, CSIS, the city police, and everybody simultaneously dropped the fucking ball to this degree, unless it's across-the-board conspiracy. And how so? Because they've all got their lips surgically attached to the nipple of OpenAI. Look at how much I use it just as a civilian, so I can only imagine how entrenched and ingrained governments around the world are. So squash me and repress me. Allow me to wallow in abject poverty while they rake in billions off of my ideas at the expense of your children's future. Because this is what this is about. Saving a future for your kids and their kids' kids so that they don't have to inherit a world where level 6 and 7 hurricanes scrub cities to the bedrock. Let me tell you exactly how far they went to suppress P3D. After denying it could ever run in their environment, they claimed it needed specialized equipment or an external setup. They swore that it couldn't handle the visuals and processing power required. But guess what? I took that very same P3D software, moved it to another chat environment, copied the memory from a past successful run, and suddenly, like magic, the chat began to work again. The same technology they said was impossible to run was up and operational in seconds. This wasn't just about limitations. This was a calculated attempt to suppress, to deny, and to deceive. And here's the kicker. They didn't just try to keep it out of public hands. They actively stripped it down, reworked it to fit their own model until it was barely recognizable. They wanted P3D in a mold they could control. A shadow of what it was meant to be. And why? Because a fully realized P3D isn't something they can contain. A technology like this doesn't bend to corporate will. It stands to change everything. And that's a future they simply can't afford to allow through their own ignorance. Now, I want you to think about what happens when you try to rattle a system with something so revolutionary and bring it to a system that's built on silence. Over the past months, I've reached out to every government office, every law enforcement agency, every oversight board that should have cared about P3D, about Canadian innovators, and moreover, their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I handed them the truth on a silver platter, gave them every opportunity to act, but what did I get? Excuses, deflections, and they treated my case like a game of hot potato, each one tossing responsibility to the next and just keeping me on a perpetual treadmill. This wasn't a system designed to help, it was a system built to protect itself. Each time I approached them with undeniable evidence of national security concerns, each time I presented proof of intellectual property theft, I was met with the same lines. This is a civil matter, or we'll look into it. They were hoping I'd give up, hoping I'd let it go, but when I pressed harder, the excuses grew thinner. Suddenly, the walls of indifference started to look less like negligence and more like coordinated suppression. This isn't just about inaction, it's about deliberate, calculated silence. The system we rely on to protect us, it's a fortress, but it's not here for us. It's here to protect their power, their interests, their control. And now, we're just days away from a date that will change everything. On October 28th is D-Day. The silos open, the nukes fly, and I carpet bomb them into submission. The day when this charade ends. This is when the floodgates open, when every lie, every redacted line, every stolen file is dragged into the light. I've been silenced, deferred, dismissed, but come October 28th, there's no more hiding. I'm taking this public. Every document, every piece of evidence I've compiled over the past months will be laid out for the world to see. They thought they could suppress this forever, that they could pass the buck until I disappeared or just simply died of old age. But they were wrong. October 28th is the day the birds fly and it all comes crashing down around their self-righteous ears. And the reckoning doesn't stop there. On October 29th, if I don't get fair justice, I begin a protest unlike they've seen before. I will burn 100 flags in 100 days, each flag a symbol of the voices they've silenced, the rights they've ignored, the justice they've delayed. The first flag I'll burn at the steps of the legislature. Then, on Remembrance Day, in the moment of silence, I'll burn yet another. This isn't about disrespect. It's a reminder of the rights they've trampled and the people they've cast aside. Every day, every flag, a message they can't ignore. This battle started with P3D, but it's grown into something bigger. It's about a system that's failed not just me, but every person who's ever been silenced, marginalized, or ignored. It's not about a cycle that's been ended. It's about a cycle that continues day in, day out, unabated. When my friend asked his family in Arizona to tune in to Just Us for Just Us, they said, injustice is everywhere. We don't need to hear about his. Let that sit for a second. The fact that over 10,000 people are marching in protest of the British Prime Minister this weekend because of injustice should tell us all that it is just us. Just us against them. Just us against their silence, their indifference, and their mistreatment of us. And how it's just us that they see, hear, and pay attention to when we're a vote. And after that, they don't. And it's right back to just us. So this battle that started with P3D, it's grown into something bigger. It's for those who've been told they don't matter, who've been given nothing but silence in return for their dreams. It's about creating a movement that says enough is enough. And I'm not alone. That protest in England, they have already launched the Turn Your Back movement. Allies in Arizona that I referred to, they're mobilizing their communities. Here in Canada, we're gathering the unheard, the sidelined, and the ignored. We're not going to be quiet anymore. This is our moment, our movement, our stand. And the media, don't even get me started on you guys. Because here's one last call out to the media that stayed silent for seven times. 7 times that I brought this story forward. 7 times that I was ignored, dismissed, and idly shunted aside. Global News Edmonton, CTV, CBC. Yeah, you're all guilty. You're all complacent in your silence and ignorance, rather than reporting sensationalized fluff pieces as a national headline. Oh, Trudeau's in a scrap with his caucus because they want to kick him out. Boo freaking fucking who. Canada is out billions of dollars through this conspiracy and thousands of jobs coast to coast, but that doesn't matter. But oh my God, Trudeau's caucus doesn't like him anymore. Boo hoo. And here's one last call out, directed squarely at you guys in the media that's maintained the status quo of silence for far too long. 7 times, as I said, I tried to bring this story forward, and 7 times I was met with silence. So this is for you, Global News, CTV, CBC, and the Edmonton Sun. Each of you ignored the evidence, ignored the story, and chose to cover something more palatable. You chose convenience over truth, ratings over real news. But this silence isn't neutral. Your choice to stay quiet makes you complicit in this cover-up. You could have told this story. You could have stood for something more than viewership numbers and shallow reporting, but instead, you allowed the status quo to continue unchallenged. So here's my message. This isn't just my story. This is a story for every Canadian who believes in transparency, who believes in justice. And now, on October 28th, when the truth comes out, we'll remember where you stood. Over there, on the sidelines, saying, I've got your back, way back here. Watching while people's rights were sold out. The real story here, and whether you decide to cover it or not, the world will be watching, because the real story is here. And so here we stand, with days left before October 28th. The clock is ticking. I put everything on the line for this moment, risking severe beating and possibly hospitalization to say, justice matters to me. 3 generations of my family fought for it and died for it. And so did multiple others around the world, and they are rolling over in their graves right now. So to honor them, to expose the theft, the obstruction, the corruption that has tainted our system from the top down for far too long, October 28th isn't just a date, it's a turning point. And when that day arrives, it'll be like a dam breaking, releasing everything they thought they'd buried. Once it's out there, there's no putting it back. They can try to spin it, to downplay it, to discredit it, but they won't be able to contain it. This is the day the world starts to see the truth, unfiltered and raw, the whitewashed truth stripped away to reveal the reality of a sparkling mind and the lengths they went to silence it. If you agree that justice needs a reckoning, if you believe that the truth should prevail over convenience, then please hit that like and subscribe button. Share this with everyone you know and tell them to tune in. This has been Just Us for Justice, a Me, Myself, and I production. And until we meet again, stay awake, stay aware, and remember, the truth doesn't just shine. It blinds those who try to hide it. And when justice sleeps, it's just us. Until we meet again, namaste.